Okay, so this morning I'm standing in the bathroom doing my normal morning routine, washing my face off, brushing my teeth, kind of half awake, and I look at myself in the mirror, and for a second, just like a second, maybe a few more, I don't recognize her. I don't recognize the person that's looking back at me. And not in this like dramatic movie moment kind of way, just like who is that? Like, when did her face change? When did she get that look? And that look, you know the look I mean. That tired, but still going, still have to do it kind of look. Your eyes look tired and you're getting those little bags underneath them, that whole thing. But the weirdest part wasn't that moment itself, because I've had that moment before. I've looked in the mirror and thought, who am I? The existential crisis and all those things. But the weirdest part was how fast I moved past that moment. Finished brushing my teeth, walked out of the bathroom, kept moving like I didn't have time to be confused about my own reflection about that person that was looking back at me. And so that's what I want to get into today. Two things that I've been sitting with, and I think they're probably actually the same thing, but wearing different outfits. And those are why women apologize for wanting more in midlife, and what happens when you stop recognizing the person staring back at you. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Midlife Edit. I'm your host, Jen Weinstein, and this is where we have real conversations about reinvention, identity, and what it actually looks like to stop living by rules that stopped fitting years ago. Music's close by, there's no toxic positivity, and I'm not going to pretend that it's easy. I drop new episodes every Tuesday, so let's go. So here's the thing that I want to say out loud, because I don't think I've said this directly, at least publicly, before. I want more. And not more in some kind of vague, I'm going to put it on a vision board or make one of those pretty Pinterest boards about it. I mean really specific things. I want this show to reach so many more people. I want to be seen for the work that I'm doing and the episodes that I'm building and the brand that I'm chasing. And not just told that, hey, that's so cool that you do that on top of everything else that you're doing. Like it's some hobby that I'm just squeezing in. Sure, it's a passion project. And yeah, I did have it on a vision board, but it's become part of who I am. And I want time that's mine that I don't have to justify. And yeah, I want to make money, real money, sustainable living money, enough that's not going to make this just a side thing anymore. And the second that I say that out loud, some part of me automatically wants to add a disclaimer. Like, but I'm so grateful for everything so far, or I'm not complaining, or obviously my family comes first. Because watch, I almost just did that again right now. And that, my friend, is called the guilt tax. Every role that we carry, wife and mom and stepmom and employee and sister and daughter, comes with this unspoken ceiling. Nobody hands you a memo. Nobody says, okay, well, here are the rules, and this is the rule book, and this is how much space you're allowed to take up. But you know it. You know exactly what I'm talking about because you feel it in your body before you ever say a sentence like, I want more, or this isn't enough, or I need more, right? And there's a double standard. I mean, there's always a double standard with women, right? But here's the one that nobody talks about specifically. Sure, we talk about how there's a double standard with men because that's the truth, right? If men want more, they are motivated and driven and they don't get looked down on for wanting more, and they don't get told, oh, just be happy with what you have, right? But here's another one that we don't hear enough about, if at all. If a 24 or 25-year-old woman says, I want more, we call her driven. We say, oh, she's inspiring and she's hungry. But if a woman our age, in their 40s, 50s, 60s say it, there's this like pause and this judgment, this little flicker of like, okay, but what about, and you can fill in the blank there. What about your kids or your marriage or your season of life? Like, we've gotten a little off of what the path that society thinks that we should have is, right? Like, wanting more came with some kind of expiration date. Like, okay, well, you should have thought about that in your 20s or whatever, you know? And then somebody forgot to just tell us, oh, hey, oh, the time passed, so you can't want more after you get married or you have kids or you get the career or you decide X, Y, and Z. And we've gotten a little bit further in society when it comes to moms, especially. Not enough. Definitely not enough. But when it comes to moms saying we want more, saying that things are hard, that we're burnt out, we and other women especially, we celebrate it a little bit. Like, oh, okay, I see you, and yeah, it takes a village, and um, you know, we understand and everything else. But stepmoms, mm-mm. When you hear it takes a village, it takes a village unless you're a stepmom, and then you're not allowed to say all those things. If we even mention that it's hard or that you're expected to play all the roles of a mom, but also you're told to stay in your lane when it comes to parenting or decisions, you sacrifice a lot for your new blended family, physically, emotionally, financially. But if you even show signs of complaining, you're told, and this is the sentence that everybody always says, oh, you knew what you signed up for. And that, my friends, is simply not right. In fact, it's bullshit. Downright draining. Because again, the male counterpart, the stepdad, they're celebrated for showing up. Stepmoms are ridiculed if they show up or try to parent or speak up when they're being disrespected or sometimes just by being there. We're expected to do all the household things for the kids and throw the birthday parties and support them, but not dare bring up when they're misbehaving or doing something that we don't agree with. So what do we do instead? Apologize, even when it's something we shouldn't be apologizing for. Even if you are pushed to the point where you get angry and flip out. I mean, sure, apologize for your behavior, but then we just go on living to make everybody else happy, to keep the peace. And if we dare say that we want more out of life, then we're bad. We're the bad people. We're ungrateful. We should just be happy for what we have. That's our ceiling. And I'm not interested in that ceiling anymore. I'm just naming it today out loud because I think a lot of you have felt it and never said it. And it's okay to have feelings, and it's okay to say that you want more. It's okay to say that sometimes what you have in your life isn't enough. And two things can't be true at once. You can be absolutely happy with your life and still want more. Okay, but if you follow me on social media and if you're in the edit room, you might be sitting there going, wait, didn't you just say that you were editing out, chasing that next goalpost, and you were editing in, just letting things be enough? And now you're sitting here saying you want more and you're done apologizing for it. So which one is it, Jen? Get your shit together, right? Friends, the answer is both. Both. Because here's what I figured out. Wanting more and chasing the goalpost are not the same thing. Chasing the goalpost is when nothing ever lands, when every win just evaporates the second it happens because you're already on and looking past to the next one. That's the treadmill. That's what I was editing out. Okay. Wanting more is different. Wanting more means I can actually let this moment right here be enough, let myself feel it and receive it and not immediately discount it, and still want the show to grow. Still want to be paid for my work. Still want bigger things down the road. That goalpost chasing was never really about ambition. It was about never letting myself arrive anywhere, even for a second, because arriving felt unsafe. So it's not a contradiction. It's actually the same edit. It's just kind of continued. Last week I said, let it be enough. This week I'm saying, and it can still grow. Those aren't opposites. That's just what it looks like to actually be present in your life and still be building something. So the goalpost may have been, I want a promotion in my job. Okay. But that doesn't mean that you can't want more out of life. I want a promotion in my job and I want to grow my podcast. I want to lose weight and want to lose weight. And I want to be able to be more fit so that I can run a marathon. Two things can be true at the same time and they can counteract. You can still have that goalpost and celebrate that moment and want to grow more in a different way. So this whole thing, it's not something that I invented. I learned this. I learned it watching my mom. I learned it in the way ambition got talked about, or actually didn't get talked about growing up. I learned it in society, in jobs, with myself, honestly, and other women who asked for more and they got labeled a lot, or you're asking for too much, or you should just be happy with what you have. But then the men who asked for the same thing got labeled as, oh, you're leadership material. Oh, you're a go-getter. Oh, here's your raise, I've talked before, I had a whole episode on it too, about being the eldest daughter, about how that role trains you to manage everybody else's needs before you even notice you have your own needs. This is the same root system, a different branch. The eldest daughter thing taught me to disappear quietly. This, the ambition guilt, is what happens when the woman underneath that training finally wants something for herself and doesn't know what to do with the wanting. It's not dramatic. It's just quiet conditioning repeated for decades until it feels like personality instead of programming. We're allowed to want more. We're allowed to ask for more without having a reason why. I want this podcast. I want this brand. I want to do it for me because for a very long time, even on the outside looking in, if somebody thought I was doing something for me, it was always for someone else. Whether it was a good or a bad thing, honestly, whether it was a good choice that I made or a bad choice, it wasn't really about me. It was about managing others' emotions, making sure that other people were happy. It was about not stirring the pot and not bringing up when I needed more, whether that was more money or more emotionally or more physically. And I've thought a lot about this. I've thought a lot about, I preach. I preach all the time about how self-care isn't selfish and we should do things for ourselves. And then when I do things for myself or I speak up or I simply just stick up for myself, I end up doing it in a way that isn't conducive, right? I let things build up and I let frustrations get the best of me because I'm not asking for more or asking for what I want in that moment. And then the resentment builds and the frustration builds. And then, and this is in multiple facets of my life. I've done it in my home life, in my relationships, in my career, where I don't say the thing right away that I'm really feeling or what I really need or what I really want. And I let it fester and fester and fester until one little thing happens and then it just clicks and I explode, whether it's yelling or crying or just shutting down. And not only is that not a way to interact with people, it's not a good way to interact with myself. It's not a good way to get what we want. It is It's honestly kind of, I don't know, traumatizing, I guess would be the word. And it makes it hard. It makes it hard to ask for what you want if you wait so long to ask for what you want, because the result ends up being negative, right? So ask for what you want in the moment. It's okay to want more. It's okay to love your life and still want better, still want something different. It's okay to not love your life and want more. It's okay to win at something and realize that's not the thing that you wanted to win at, right? So whether it's a career, right? Especially in midlife, we talk about reinvention and career changes and things like that. So if you've been in the same career for 15 years and you've done all the things, you've climbed the corporate ladder and you've got there and you're like, hey, something just isn't right. I just don't feel fulfilled. It's okay to pivot and say that you want more. And friends, it's okay to ask for more money. That is something that I know a lot of us women have problems with. It's something that's this weird, gross stigma, right? But it's okay to do that. So back to the mirror. And this morning when I'm brushing my teeth, and here's what I think was actually happening in that moment. It wasn't that I looked older or tired or different. Honestly, I will say, I think that women growing older and aging is absolutely beautiful. Sure, I think it's okay to get Botox or any kind of plastic surgery, whatever makes you feel good. But I also think there's just something so simply beautiful about that laugh wrinkle that you get, or the lines on your face, because it means that we've been through things, right? Anyway, it wasn't that I was looking older or tired or different. It was that I looked unedited. I know. Oh, it's so cliche and funny because your podcast is called the Midlife Edit. But listen, I'm serious. Like someone whose life is not her own, someone who always puts everybody else's needs and feelings and emotions above her own, someone who'd been quietly cut from her own highlight reel for years. Not because she wasn't interesting, because I think I'm pretty cool. I think I'm pretty interesting. And sometimes I think I'm pretty funny. But because including her felt like too much. It felt selfish, too needy, too much wanting. And I think that we are conditioned that way. We're conditioned to not want to do these things because then that means we're selfish, or you should just be grateful for what you have. I think of myself as the editor-in-chief of my own midlife. And that's not just some cheesy brand line that I just thought of. It's actually how I want to operate in my life. I'm constantly choosing, right? Or maybe I should choose more what stays in my story and what gets cut for time. And realistically and metaphorically, because I do edit my episodes, right? And I figure out what needs to be cut. But I need to do that in my own life too. Whether it's a feeling or something I need to just say no to. And I think for a long time, the version of me that wants more, wants to be seen, wants the win, wants that money, wants that pat on the back, that recognition, I think it got cut. Every episode of it just left on the floor because she felt inconvenient. Wanting more isn't about abandoning who I was. It's finally letting her back in to that final edit. So that's what I'm leaving you with today. Not 5 steps, not some framework, just one real thing. I'm done apologizing for wanting the show to be big. Full stop. I want this show to be the one that everybody goes to for midlife women. I built this alone. I do this alone every week for over a year, and I'm done shrinking that down to, oh, it's just a little podcast when somebody asks what I do. It's not little. I'm not sorry for wanting it to be more. Receiving and reaching aren't opposites, and I'm done acting like they are. So that's mine. That's what I am editing in and editing out. So I'd love to know what yours is. So if you're in the edit room, drop it this week. Tell me you listen to the podcast. Tell me what you think about wanting more. Tell me how you ask for more. And I want you to tell me what's the one thing you're done apologizing for starting right now. Not the polished version, the real raw. So if this episode landed for you, 2 places that you can go to keep it going. One's the Backstage Pass newsletter, drops every Sunday, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in the newsletter. But then it also has like what's coming up on the show and, anything that we need to look forward to, whether it's a new guest or a new thought or feeling. So if you're not already getting that, sign up, links in the show notes, or go to the midlifeeditco.com. You can find it there. And if you want to actually say the thing that you're done apologizing for, not just think it, come say it in the edit room. It's my free Facebook group, but that's what it's there for. It is a private group, and you can say exactly how you're feeling. So come join me there as well. And of course, if you love the episode, like, subscribe, leave me a review. The more reviews I get, the more it gets pushed out to the women that need to hear it, and share it with a friend who you know needs to hear this today. Okay, that's the episode. This is our midlife edit. Let's make it a damn good chapter. I'll see you next Tuesday.